tax system, and we're going to go in accordance with committee practice. We are going to go on a 2-to-1 questioning. Mr. Arrington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Plowden, you just said that American companies will be more competitive if we tax them at a higher rate. We're at a 12% global minimum tax, and you think it's going to make American companies more competitive to levy more taxes. Taxes, by the way, corporate taxes that are passed through in higher cost of goods and services to consumers, which will exacerbate inflation, will also impact wages by reducing wages and income. So tell me again how America is more competitive if we increase taxes on American companies. Just kind of taking off where you all left off in the last Q&A.
Right, thank you. So Pillar 2 levels the playing field for U.S. multinationals, which were up to this point the only multinationals that face a minimum tax on their foreign earnings. Pillar 2 ensures that all multinationals, wherever they're headquartered, wherever they operate, are subject to a minimum level of tax.
Shouldn't other sovereign nation states decide what their tax system should be and what their international tax policy should be? Why do we need this one world order of tax regime? Well, let me ask you a more direct question. You had Democrat control of the Senate, Democrat control of the House in last Congress, and a Democrat president. Did you increase the global minimum tax from 12 to 15%? In the Democrat, all Democrat, total partisan Democrat tax policy that is the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, did you raise the global minimum tax?
Changes consistent with Pillar 2 were passed in the House.
Did you raise the tax rate from 12 to 15? It's a simple question.
And they were close to being passed in the Senate.
Did it pass from 12 to 15? Yes or no?
But one of the concerns that was raised was
just listen, if I may reclaim my time. You won't answer the question. It's a simple question. And if the American people were sitting here wondering why in the world we would allow our companies to be less competitive in the global market, and why we would cede our sovereignty in terms of tax policy to other countries, along with our tax base. What you're doing is a backdoor coercive strategy to force Congress to have to raise taxes from the 12% global minimum tax to the 15%. If we don't, here's what you're setting up. Here's what the Biden administration is setting up. Other countries will tax not just U.S. operations in their jurisdiction, they will tax U.S. companies. They will take our revenue to support their policies, their programs, their people, without any say. Without any say in the matter. Well, I guess they did have a say. They rejected the global minimum tax increase. They rejected it even with Democrat control. And in addition to other countries, this is the setup, this is the backdoor scheme. They not only take the taxes from this country, and JCT says in one estimate $56 billion. $56 billion. Are you going to tax more to offset that loss? President Biden's budget includes almost $5 trillion of new taxes. So we're going to tax the American people more? I think the most outrageous aspect of this whole thing, not to mention the fact that we have pleaded with you all to consult with Congress and we got nothing, no response, is the fact that the tax base will be ceded to foreign jurisdictions for their people, their programs, and their policies that we will subsidize, that United States hardworking taxpayers will subsidize, but we will also undermine our sovereignty. We have set policy, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, we've set policies. Whether I agree with them or not, they're the law of the land, and they're tax policies to incentivize behavior, like we want to encourage investment in R&D or the work opportunity tax credit. That's it. So if a company takes their liability lower than 15% because they're taking advantage of the work opportunity tax credit to help veterans, to help people on food stamps and other public assistance to get jobs, they're penalized for that.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and the few sisters out there. Unto this like foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom, meaning Hebrew, which means peace. Let me a quick show through the spirit of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. You heard it. You heard what the devils said. You heard what they planning to do. And the spirit had it. I'm just going into the Roman Empire. The Roman, how they was oppressing everybody, and the common mindset was tributary or taxing. Okay, and it so happens that he's making mention of the increase of taxing under Biden. All right, and as I was listening to what he was saying, if they plan to, first of all, in the U.S., let's look at the condition right now. The U.S. is not in a good condition right now because damn near everybody's dropping the U.S. dollar. So if you want to do business outside of America, that can be done. Everybody's jumping into the BRICS nation, and nobody wants to be no sort of dealing with America at all. So now if you increase the taxing of U.S. companies in foreign countries, which are already not really dealing with the dollar, like he stated, so the advantage will no longer be for America, for U.S. interests in these countries, because now everything is going to go towards the people that they're occupying, which screws up the Americans, because the Americans now can complain that they're not making that much money. So where are they going to get the money from? Oh, the same people that they've been getting the money from. Oh yeah, U.S. tax dollars is going to those wars, going to that welfare state, Israel, all right? Going to a government that doesn't give a damn about you and tax even more. Things are getting worse and worse on a daily basis, while these people, these fat cats, are just sitting back and enjoying everything that they have. So Spirit had it. Well, I looked it up. The downfall of the Roman Empire, taxes. Some attribute the fall of the great empire to many things. One has contemporary ring to it. The Roman Empire deteriorated due to oppressive taxation. Though perhaps not the core issue, the great burden to average citizen could easily have been extreme tax burden. All right, so that had a heavy thing to the people, because they had to carry the burdens while the rich was stay getting richer and invading all these other different countries. Sounds familiar, right? This is the same formula. So America go to these foreign countries, rob their natural resources, go to war with your tax dollars, and as they go into war, they taking all the natural resources, and corporations are making bank over those things, while the U.S. citizen is not receiving nothing. All they're getting is more taxed. That's all it is. Proving that this man's a devil that the Bible speaks of. It says taxation in ancient Rome. There were 4 primary kinds of taxations in ancient Rome: a cattle tax, a land tax, customs, a tax on profits of professions. These taxes were typically collected by local, I don't know why I keep saying artists, aristocrats. That's what it is. Slovakia. It says the Roman state would set a fixed amount of money each region needed to provide in tax, and the local officials would decide who paid the taxes, how much they paid. Once they collect the tax would be used to fund the military, create public works, sounds familiar, establish trade networks, stimulate the economy, and to fund the cursive publico. Let me see what that is. Cursive publico was a state mandated to provide courier transportation service of Roman Empire, whose use continued into the Eastern Roman Empire. It was a system based on obligation placed on the private persons by the Roman state as contractors called menipus. They provide equipment, animals, and wagons. In the early empire, compensation had to be paid, but this had fallen into abstinence in late antiquity when the maintenance was charged to inhabits on long routes. They served contained only those personal necessary for the administration and operation. This include veterans, wagon rights, and grooms. The carriers and wagon drivers did not belong to the service. Whether public service or private individuals, they used faculties and requisitions from local individuals and communities. This caused late antiquity were charged to previous as part of the privilegied tax obligation in the form of minus and the private individual taxpayers. So all this is the same goddamn thing. Public transportation. Alright? Public work. Network. That's what they would do. And now it's increasing even more. That's why you have high inflation. Alright? That's why you have a lot of high inflation going on. Spirit heading, I was on it. Let's see. Get this real quick. Luke 2:1. It says, and it came to pass in those days there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world shall be taxed, because the Roman Empire ruled the known world in the Mediterranean. So they was taxing all the people. Every last one of them. And that's what they funded for their wars and so forth. But down the line, eventually, they just taking the money off of the people. And this taxing was first made when Cyrus was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own cities. Alright? Let's look up the word taxing or tax. A writing off description from some pattern, an enrollment of registration in public records of a persons together with the income property as a base of censor or valuation, i.e., or example, that it might appear how much tax should be levied upon each one. It says an enrollment by implication, an assessment taxing. So that's what they was doing. This is exactly what they plan to do right now. And what that's going to lead to is going to lead to more global inflation. The dollar losing its power, the high taxing of everything, because people are borrowing more, they're using usury, all right? So they're borrowing more to live off the high lifestyles that they have, which is the high lifestyles is created by these devils to keep you wants and want, all right? Matter of fact, it says in Proverbs 21. Slakia. Proverbs 22, Slakia, 22 and 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. So what's ended up happening, everybody became more borrower. All right? And eventually everybody's becoming more of a servant. Because you're going to have to pay them. And now they're adding the global tax in form of CO2, emission. They're coming up with a whole bunch of different taxations. All right, to take from the people. This is why scripture that popped in my mind. Jeremiah 50. And what is it? Jeremiah 50. Let's try to find it. Let me just type it in. Jeremiah 50:23. It says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken?" Now, let's look at the word hammer. Forge, hammer, which we know what it is, but it says in verse Strong's definition, intensified from unused root, meaning to pound. A hammer. So they pounding people. Which is interesting because on the flip side, Putin just relieve all the debts of the African nations. All right. So, but on the other flip side, which we are part of, that is that this man is pounding down all the nations on the earth through his taxations. Okay? So America is leading the same trend as the Roman Empire. The same exact trend. The money's not real. That was a trend back then. There was spread thin. That's a trend right now. It's following the same goddamn patterns. Alright? And the scripture says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, which is a trap. And thou hast taken, O Babylon, that was not aware." So as they're passing these bills and doing all this obscurity, these things to make people more oppressed, because that's what it's all about. Last month it was that Bohemian Globe, all these G summits and so forth, is all about oppressing more and more people. But like the Lord said, the Lord set up a trap under their feet, and they was not aware of it. It says, "Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast strive against the Lord." The Lord have opened his armory. What is in the armory? Weapons of mass destruction. All right, and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, or the weapons of his righteous anger. For this is the work of the Lord of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. So the Lord is going to use those nuclear missiles because once again, it's the same pattern that ancient Rome is doing. America's doing the same goddamn thing. And they're trying to say, oh, we're trying to be competitive. You know, these are just buzzwords. These buzzwords are all the same. It's to oppress the hell out of the poor. All right, Isaiah 14, I believe it's 5. So I'll start off, 5. The Lord have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. And what is a scepter? A scepter is what a king holds. So the kings of the world, which is not here in America, the kings of the world are these global elites, these small hatters. All right, the ones you can't make mention of, or you know of them, but you hardly hear anything about them. Those are the true kings. Those are the ones that's pushing and telling these global elites to do certain things to make people's life more miserable. He said, he who smote the people in wrath with a continuing stroke. Smote. It's to strike, smite, beat, slay, kill. To be stricken or smitten. To be stricken or smitten. To smite, strike, beat, scourge, clap, applaud, give a thrust, to smite, kill, slay, man or beast. All right, to smite, attack, and destroy, conquer, subjugate. All right, that's what they did. That's what their history is known for. They subjugate those that they take over, ravage. All right, take their lands, take their natural resources, to smite, to chasten, send judgment upon punishment. That's a punish, destroy, to receive a blow, to be wounded, to be beaten, to be fatal, smitten, be killed, slay. All right, so they're making the people's lives more miserable. I said with a continuing stroke. So when you look up the word stroke, it means to blow, wound, slaughter, blow, stripe, beaten, scourge, wound. Not wound to death, but a wound. So as you, what's that scripture comes in mind? Habakkuk. Haggai 1:4. It says 5. Now therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. But this is what the Lord said to Israel. You have so much and bring in little. So you work hard, and by the time you get your money, you bring in nothing. All right, you eat, but you have not enough, because the food obviously doesn't give you the natural minerals that you need. You always need of want, and the food prices are skyrocketing. It says, you drink, but you're not filled with drink. You're clothed, but there's none warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. So the bag of holes is what? You work hard, and what you see, you don't have what you see at the end of it all. You see nothing. And this is all by design, by these elites. So the Lord is going to break that which they have done to the world. Because you're supposed to pay somebody what they did. You're not supposed to tax them the way they doing it. And they increasing taxing. Gas prices are going up in here in the shores of America. People's lives are miserable. And they're more concerned about war in Ukraine than anything else. All right. Bread and circuses and so forth. This is why the Lord is going to break the power of this man, because he's an unrighteous dealer. He said, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. So he is running the world in anger mode and misery mode. And that's why he put different philosophies of suicide, overpopulation, climate change, and global warming, and so forth. Buzzwords of him to aid people to destroy themselves. This man is making everybody's lives miserable. And he's going to do that to his end. And this is why the Lord's going to take him out of power and position. Point blank period. He's in the same trap as the ones that they want to emulate so much, the Roman Empire. So with that being said, the one of you brothers edify. Shalom to the elect of the nation Israel. Shalom.